All right. Good evening and welcome to the February 22nd meeting of the Minnetonka Planning Commission. The Commission generally meets on the first and third Thursdays of the month. The schedule and tentative agendas can be obtained by calling the Planning Department or by checking the city website at minnetonkamn.gov. The Commission holds public hearings on land use applications. From a specific process standpoint, that means we make recommendations to the City Council on rezonings, subdivisions, conditional use permits, and amendments to the city's comprehensive plan, zoning ordinance, and subdivision regulations. We also make final decisions on site plans, signage requests, and variance requests, and expansion permits unless these requests are part of an application that must be heard by the City Council. In that case, the Commission makes a recommendation, and the Council makes the final decision. The city notifies property owners within at least 400 feet of the sites, posts signs on the properties, and places notices in the Lakeshore Weekly News and the Minnetonka Memo. Any aggrieved party may appeal a final Planning Commission decision to the City Council. If you wish to appeal, you must submit a written request to the city within 10 days of this meeting. From a broader standpoint, the city's comprehensive plan, zoning ordinance, and subdivision regulations are the city's best efforts to codify a balance between individual rights and community responsibilities. Individual rights are easy to understand. Community responsibilities are more subtle, but the idea is that we, as members of the community, agree to limit our individual rights for the common good of the group. The Planning Department, the Planning Commission, and the City Council are charged with managing this sometimes difficult balancing act. We ask you to keep this broader perspective in mind as we review tonight's applications. Again, welcome. Staff, please call roll.
Henry.
Here.
Maxwell.
Here.
Minion.
Here.
Waterman.
Here.
Banks is excused. Hanson.
Here.
Chair Sewell.
Here, there are 6 of us seated here tonight. Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda, and I believe there's a change memo.
Yes, we do, Chair and Commissioners. We have one change memo this evening, and that is the item 8A. It's that Baldwin residence for the accessory structure on McGinty Road East. We received new plans yesterday for the project. They want to change a few things about the dimensions and the location of the building. So what we're going to do is pull that from the agenda tonight. We'll bring it back to you after we've been able to review the plan and post it as a revised plan on the website, and then we'll bring it back to you for public hearing at a later agenda.
Okay, so that item 8A, the Baldwin residence, will not be on the agenda tonight. So anyone here for that item? Sorry, you'll have to come back another time. All right, let's recognize this change memo, and would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make the motion. I will second.
Motion Henry, second Hanson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is approval of minutes from February 1st, 2024. Commissioners, any changes to those minutes? Doesn't look like it. Then I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from February 1st.
I'll make that motion, Chair.
Motion Maxwell.
I'll second.
Second Waterman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is report from staff.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. A few things tonight. Just to report first on the council items that you had previously reviewed. So the February 12th council meeting, we had 2 items, the Minnetonka Flats and the Emerald Estates projects. For the Minnetonka Flats, that was the County Road 101 and Excelsior Boulevard project, the condominium project. Council took your recommendation. That was a 7-0 denial by the council. They had essentially the same comments that you had as a commission with reasons for their denial. And likewise with Emerald Estates, that also was denied by the council, again reflecting many of the Planning Commission comments with the impacts to the site and kind of overbuilding of the property. So both of those projects at this point are denied. Again, those are projects that may come back in a different form, as was kind of indicated during that review. Again, anything that does come in with new applications will be posted on a website and noticed as such with neighbors and meetings. So, but that's all I can report on that this evening for the status of those. A few other things going on, kind of related to the Planning Commission. And work that the Sustainability Commission is doing is over the weekend, the comments on the city's climate action and adaptation plan closed. So we're taking all that public input over the past many weeks and starting to compile that into a response for comments, and we'll take that forward to the Sustainability Commission in March on the 19th, where they'll have a review of that draft, and then it'll go on to council on the 22nd of April for their final action on it. And again, it's not really a planning commission specific document, but it's a big document with a lot of initiatives to it, things that people can do to help with climate and impacts, and kind of navigating how to deal with a changing world going forward. So I just put that out as an FYI to the Planning Commission that will be through the city's other boards and council here in the upcoming months. So that is kind of a big lift for those groups as well. Lastly, our next meeting will be on the 7th of March, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. Thank you much.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, anything to report? Yeah, Commissioner Hanson.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I just, maybe for the city, I wanted to pay a compliment to our city's fire department. I know Chief Vance retired in January, and he leaves behind a pretty good culture that I saw in action, so I want to recognize that. I was at Culver's maybe a week or two ago, and 3 firefighters walked in and they were bombarded by a bunch of 5-year-olds and were just awesome with these kids. And so I think that says a lot about the hands that our public service departments have been left in the culture that they have, is that they're trusted members of the community, and then they interact with whomever approaches them. So I was really appreciative just for those firefighters. They're trying to get a burger, and they got a lot of germs coming their way, and they're willing to take that on. It's probably more dangerous than than some of the aspects of their real job. So, for Mr. Gordon, just like really appreciative of the culture that the city has. So, just wanted to note that.
Great, thank you. Shout out to Public Safety in Minnetonka. Anything else to report, Commissioners? All right, doesn't look like it. We will keep moving on with our agenda then. All right, moving on to item number 7, which is the consent agenda. These are items that are usually a little more routine in nature, and we will pass with one motion unless someone would like to pull the item and have a full discussion before our vote on it. So the item on the agenda, item 7A, is a conditional use permit with setback variance for a detached accessory dwelling unit at 13910 Norway Drive South. And this is a recommendation that council adopt the resolution approving the permits. Is anyone in the audience like to pull this item and have a full discussion on it? Doesn't look like it. Commissioners, would anyone here like to pull this item and have a full discussion on it? Also doesn't look like it. All right, I think we're probably ready for a motion. Would someone like to make a motion to recommend that council adopt the resolution approving the permit for conditional use permit with setback variance for a detached accessory dwelling unit at 13910 Norwood Drive South?
I'll make the motion.
Motion Henry.
I'll second.
Second Minion. Staff, please poll the commission.
Henry,
Yes.
Maxwell,
Yes.
Minion,
Yes.
Waterman,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Chair Sewell.
Yes, motion carries, and this is a recommendation to the City Council to be heard on March 4th. Good luck with your detached accessory dwelling unit. All right, moving on to item 8, non-consent agenda items. Before we begin consideration of the non-consent agenda items, I'd like to review the steps in the process and the public hearing procedure that will be followed for each proposal. First, the item will be announced and staff will report on the subject. The commission will then ask questions. Next, the applicant will be invited to make a presentation or offer comments. Commissioners may ask additional questions at this time. After the applicant is finished, the public hearing will be open to give anyone present the opportunity to comment on the proposal. If you wish to speak, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. We ask you to keep your comments brief and try not to repeat points already made. Once everyone has spoken, we may allow speakers to return for additional comments at larger meetings. Neighborhood spokespeople are encouraged and will be given up to 15 minutes to present. The public hearing will then be closed and no further comments will be allowed. The commission will discuss the proposal and make a decision. The first item on the agenda tonight is item 8B. Item 8A has been pulled. Item 8B is the preliminary plat of Woodhaven, a 5-lot subdivision at 2424 and 2440 Plymouth Road. Ms. Rains, I think this is your item.
Thank you, Chair Sewell. Commissioners. Item 8B is a request for a preliminary plat for Woodhaven at 2440 Plymouth Road. Recently, you did review a proposal for Emerald Estates, which is just southeast of the property. This proposal may look a little familiar property-wise because you did see it, most of you saw it in 2021 as a concept plan with Airborne Woodhaven LLC, at which time they proposed a 10-lot subdivision, which included a rezoning and variances to the tree protection ordinance, steep slope ordinance, and lot frontages. A formal application was then provided, which were reduced the amount to 9 lots, so just removing 1, still needed a rezoning and the same variances. After a meeting with the Planning Commission in May 2022, the applicant tabled the discussion, and then in October 2023, they withdrew their application. So now is the current proposal with Norton Homes. The current applicant, again, Norton Homes, is proposing a 5-lot subdivision. Initially, we met with them in November, and they were proposing a lot with a smaller cul-de-sac, which required a variance to lots 2, 3, and 4 because of the substandard width of the frontage of the lots. And it did also include a shared driveway between lots 3 and 4. After some discussion with staff, we were able to talk about revising the plans for a longer cul-de-sac for a compliant plan that would meet frontages. So that is tonight's proposal. The existing lot is 2 parcels again, approximately 4.5 acres in size, with 2 existing single-family homes and some accessory structures, all of which would be removed with this proposal. The site has 2 areas of steep slope. The orange is 20% and the red is exceeding 30%, and they are separated by a wetland. The plan does well in avoiding those areas of steep slope. 28% areas would be allowed for grading, but should be avoided, and definitely avoided in those steep areas where it exceeds 30%. The site has higher areas where the houses are and would generally slope about 10 feet from those lots 5 and 1 towards Plymouth Road, again about 10 feet, and then would be sloping towards the catch basins. There's 3 to the south, 1 in the southwest, and then near the wetland. The property would also meet the tree protection ordinance. There are 391 trees on the property that would be protected. Our code requires 50% for significant trees and 35% for high priority trees to be kept, maximum removals, and they're proposing 14.5 significant and 35.8 for high priority, so again below those standards. This is a better visual of those catch basins, again, which the properties would be sloping down towards. The site would also be improved with sanitary going through the cul-de-sac, connecting along an existing line west of Plymouth Road, and then would be closing the loop for an existing connection that goes down Forest Meadow Drive back up to Plymouth Road. This would be great for the existing service houses along this route because it would improve the quality of water as well as increase water pressure. Lastly, there is a discussion that engineering staff did recommend for the applicant to have with the property owner for the possibility of connecting this catch basin to the stormwater to improve drainage through the catch basin to the stormwater. So that's still in the works, so it might be changed a little bit with the formal application. We did receive a couple comments. Those are included in the packet. Staff finds the request reasonable, as all city codes are met for the proposed subdivision. Staff has provided the applicant with some comments to address before providing that final plat submittal. Minor corrections that would not impact this approval tonight. And that's pretty typical with any project at this stage. Based on these findings, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission recommend the City Council approve this request for a preliminary plat. With that, I'm available for questions, and the applicant is here tonight. Thank you, Chair Sewell.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for staff? I'll start. I know there were some comments, and maybe we'll even hear tonight about the utilities connection. That's kind of outside of our purview. If a neighboring homeowner has thoughts, concerns, questions, who should they address those to? How should that be worked through? Because again, that's kind of out of our purview, so we don't have much say or control over that. Is it engineering? Is it planning? Who should they work with?
Chair Sewell, Commissioners, generally I would take any questions so that I can just vet them and make sure it gets to the correct person, but utility questions would end up going to engineering.
Okay, but they can start with
Yep.
with you. Oh, perfect. Thank you for the answer. Other questions, Commissioner? Yeah, Commissioner Waterman, you have a question.
Thanks, Chair. Bria, I know in the previous meeting there was a lot of, and even in the packet, there's a lot of concern from neighbors about drainage. I just remember a lot of commentary about that. So how is the city comfortable that this doesn't like exacerbate any of the existing conditions that any of the neighbors around had voiced, or like are there opportunity, like is the city's opinion that this actually might fix any situations with drainage that might exist?
Chair Sewell, Commissioner Waterman, from my understanding, again, not an engineer, but I think that the proposal with the stormwater was an opportunity to improve the area. Our general comments for those to be addressed with the formal application haven't been around issues with the filtration of the catch basins.
Great, thanks.
And just as this is a rhetorical question, but can you tell me the standard for water drainage pre-development and post-development? This is a question, pop quiz. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Chair Sewell, generally I believe that it's to improve the quality
of
of
both
water.
rate and quality, right?
Rate and quality.
Am I getting this right? So it will be equal or better. So the worst case is it will be equal, but they aim to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
It was a leading question. Sorry, I didn't mean
That's
to put you
okay.
on the
I
spot.
appreciate the help.
Sounds good. You have a question, Commissioner Hanson?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah.
For Ms. Rains, if you go back to the tree survey, for I think high priority trees, we're right on the number of trees. Are we? I'm trying to track with like they're proposing to remove 95 trees, and that's right on the number. So how do we think about that as if this project moves forward and we get to 96 trees removed? Then what's the next step?
Chair Sewell, Commissioner Hanson, I do apologize. This is not the latest version. This is just generally showing the compliant plan. So those numbers did change from when this was provided. So in the report, the proposed removal is 90 trees, whereas their maximum would be 95. So they are 5 trees away. It is close, but we even had our natural resources staff confirm that they are under that tree allowance, including that stormwater connection, which would be off-site, that we wouldn't need additional tree removal.
Okay,
So I
no,
think we're
that's
pretty
helpful. I just saw that it was right on the number, so it caught my eye.
Commissioner Maxwell, did you have another question?
Yeah, mine is around traffic on Plymouth Road. Last time we were talking about a development on the other side of Plymouth that would have access through Amy Lane. And the county said that we would need a 300-foot turn lane to access through there. That was 10 to 12 houses. This is 5, but I'm wondering if we got any feedback from the county on needing a turn lane or impact on Plymouth Road from this proposal.
Chair Sewell, Commissioner, from the county, we didn't get any kind of comments for a turn lane. That was solely for Emerald Estates. We did get feedback about the utilities in this area over here. General just asking them to keep it out of the county right-of-way and then reducing the number to just one utility cutting across their right-of-way. So it wasn't about the street so much.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right. I don't. Oh, you have one, Commissioner.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. The other concern that was in the write-up from the city toward the applicant said that concerned the Plymouth Road setback, and there are no variances needed on this one. So can you elaborate a little bit on the city's concerns about that setback on Plymouth Road?
Chair Sewell, Commissioner. Yes, so I did reach out to the applicant, and it was clarified that the reason they showed 40 feet incorrectly was because they were going by a recommendation from the county to have a wider right-of-way. Per our city code, we do require a 50-foot setback from Plymouth Road and a 35-foot setback from that newly created road. For the case of a corner lot, such as Lot 1 and 5, you can reduce one of those frontages by 10. So they are electing to reduce the east side by 10 feet to 40. It should be something that they can meet, whether that means slightly reducing the size of the house, and they seemed like they are comfortable being able to doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? All right, doesn't look like it. If the applicant would like to come forward and offer any comments or make a presentation, we'd love to hear from you. If you can give us your name and address for the record, and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commission members. My name is Pat Hiller. I'm one of the partners with Norton Homes. I'm here with John Molinaro tonight. John is the project engineer. He's with Pioneer Engineering, so if you have any questions related to engineering, he can help you with that. My home address, I live in Inver Grove Heights. I'm at 10739 Allison Way in Inver Grove Heights. I don't have anything to add to Bria's comments, so we'll be available for questions from the commission members if you have anything further. So,
Okay, great,
Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions? Yeah, Commissioner Henry, we got questions for you.
all right, I'm back.
Yep.
Just a little exercise for you, Pat. So thank you for coming in. And the only question I have was house number 5 or lot number 5, it shows that it's not quite square. You have a little bit of a diagonal cut to accommodate the steep slopes up on the top. Is that something that is well within your purview as a contractor, that you would customize the shape of the house to accommodate that steep slope?
Commissioner Henry, that's an old design. This was a preliminary site layout. Do we have, Bria, the actual proposed plan set? Because that shape of that building pad and lot has changed just a little bit, and I think that'll answer your question.
Oh, okay.
Let's see if Bria can pull that up real quick here, and then I can go over that with you.
And I assume it's the shape of the pad, not the shape of the home itself, right?
The shape of the pad has changed a little
Yeah.
bit, angled a little bit, and so we're staying completely off that steep slope there, but it's a square box, or a rectangular box is what the new shape is. While she's pulling that up, that lot is going to be either a full basement lot, because we can't grade into the steep slope area. It'll either be a full basement lot or it'll be a slab on grade type home. So either way, that's what that one would have to be.
And the other ones, the other 4, are planned to be walkouts?
They're all walkouts, yes. Now, lot number 4 is kind of a side walkout, with the garage being in the front towards the cul-de-sac, and then the walkout would kind of go towards the wetland. But a walkout, but shaped a little bit differently than normally what you see.
And while you're up there, while she's pulling it up, maybe this is a question for you or for John, but for the North Catch Basin, it's pretty close to that wetland. Is there any concerns by you or by the city about the proximity from that catch basin to the wetland, about stuff seeping in there when it needs to have more of a buffer between the two?
I'll let John address that if you want to come up, John, and answer that question specifically.
Hi, I'm John Molinaro with Pioneer Engineering, 2422 Enterprise Drive, Mendota Heights. The question about the rain garden, the treatment basin that we have on Lot 4, which is on the north part of the property near the wetland. That's a depression that's going to be about a foot deep, and it will discharge over into the wetland after it collects the rainwater that comes off the site. We have pretty strict treatment standards we need to meet. So these rain gardens are treating small amounts of water, and when the larger events happen, they will discharge into the downstream attributes, but there is no issues that I see with how they discharge to the wetlands and to the next rain garden downstream.
Thanks. And for my edification, there's no minimum distance between a catch basin and a wetland. It's all up to the discretion of the individual case.
Right, we have wetland setbacks and we have buffers that we need to meet, so we are doing buffer averaging a little bit around that wetland. So our rain garden is getting closer than the standard distance from that wetland, but with buffer averaging, we will be able to meet the requirements.
Okay, thanks. And then the new pad on lot number 5, that still meets the cul-de-sac and the Plymouth Road setbacks, according to what you're mentioning, Ms. Rains?
Chair, Commissioner, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have the new shape up here now, and so you can see it's a little bit of a rectangular shape, but we are staying off of that 30% steep slope.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Just a quick one.
Yeah, Commissioner Minion.
On that south side of the lot where your catch basins are, right now it's fairly flat compared to how the topography for the rest of the lots go, or the rest of the area goes. Can you kind of share your vision at what you see that actually being? Right now it's just mowed grass. Is there going to be, can you talk a little bit about what that will be or how it will actually work to kind of protect the neighbors from overflow?
So the way, John, do you want to talk about those ponds again? I mean, I can answer that, but I think, why don't you answer that question specifically?
Yeah, so on the south side of the property, we have a series of rain gardens that are going to be 1 foot deep depressions that will discharge through a sand media in the drain tile that's below, and they'll be strung together with drain tile from one to the next. So we'll try and keep all that flow, underground going through that drain tile pipe. The rain gardens will be roughly a foot deep, so in a rain event, we'll get about a foot of water in those, and then they'll overtop and spill from one to the next and down the hill. There is a slight kind of ravine, you could call it. I think it looks to me to be man-made, that the water does kind of follow this natural path that was meandering through the woods that's right there. And the water will cascade down, and we have one rain garden that is near the west property line, where we'll be doing some improvements if we can get some agreements worked out with the neighbor to try and get that storm sewer extended to the property line so that a vast majority of the drainage will go into the pipe and not onto the neighbor's property.
Any other questions, commissioners? All right, it doesn't look like it. We may have more for you in a minute.
All right, thank you, sir.
Great, thank you. All right, let me dust off my gavel here. All right, we will open the public hearing. If anyone would like to come forward and offer any comments, we'd love to hear from you. Give us your name and address for the record, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm Jane Polanski. I live at 2452 Emerald Trail. Chair, commissioners, city officials, thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm representing our Emerald Trail and Amy Lane residents. It's 26 residents, 14 homes in the area. And we're concerned with two things, traffic impact and construction traffic concerns. Regarding traffic impact, we are concerned about the additional traffic pressure from the Woodhaven at Minnetonka neighborhood on the intersection of Amy Lane and Plymouth Road. Our neighborhood accesses Plymouth Road via Amy Lane to the east, and this new development will access Plymouth Road from the west. There are times that this intersection is challenging, currently as it stands, due to heavy traffic on Plymouth Road and the challenging sight lines from the hill and curve on the north to see traffic that's headed southbound. Adding additional traffic from this new development will make accessing Plymouth Road at Amy Lane even more difficult and create potentially an unsafe situation. In addition, there have been several development plans, which have been not approved thus far, to develop land on the east side of Plymouth Road, just south of Emerald Trail, formerly known as Emerald Estates. The city's 1995 master plan envisions extending Emerald Trail south into this new future housing development, which would further increase traffic on Emerald Trail and the intersection of Amy Lane and Plymouth Road. Thus far, according to all the plans, there hasn't been any formal traffic study to look at the overall picture in terms of this development as well as the future development of that land south of this current development on the east side. We would like to ask for a comprehensive traffic study to review the impact of both of these developments on the intersection of Amy Lane and Plymouth Road, looking at not only traffic capacity, but traffic speeds, sight lines, traffic controls, and pedestrian safety, both on Amy Lane and the trail that runs along Plymouth Road that's used by many people for walking their dogs, bike riding, etc. Second concern is construction traffic concerns. We're concerned about the impact of construction traffic from heavy machinery and worker vehicles parking on Amy Lane and Emerald Trail. We're concerned that these factors may make ingress and egress to our neighborhood even more difficult. There are also several school buses that pick up children at the intersection of Plymouth Road and Amy Lane. There are numerous school districts as well as Breck and Blake that have buses that have stops near that area. Having construction vehicles parked there will be unsafe for the children. In addition, our neighborhood has many people who walk Emerald Trail to enjoy our beautiful neighborhood and to walk their dogs. We're asking what is the plan for construction vehicles and construction workers during this time frame of construction. So in summary, not only the construction concerns, which are temporary, and we understand that, and we're not against the development by any means, but we are concerned about the traffic flow in an already difficult situation at that intersection of Amy Lane and Plymouth Road. And so we would like to ask what are the plans to study that and to mitigate the safety concerns for not only vehicle traffic through that intersection on both sides of Plymouth Road, but also for pedestrian safety and for our kids that use Amy Lane and Emerald Trail to walk and bike and play and enjoy the neighborhood. So I appreciate the opportunity to represent our neighborhood, and thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, doesn't look like there's any other people in the audience for comments, so we'll close the public hearing. Ms. Rains, a couple of questions. First, we'll kind of work backwards from construction and essentially parking. We don't want parking in certain neighborhoods and not in others, so what's the general plan for parking and what does that look like?
Chair Sewell, so that would be discussed at a later time, but through a construction management plan, but we would keep it to the site. That would be probably the first expectation. Part of our plans when we do get to formally having a building permit applied for is the requirement for a temporary driveway, which would be for trucks to access the site and store their materials on site. But with that construction plan too, if they had any plans of parking elsewhere, we would first review that, confirm or deny before any permanent plans were made, as well as we would give out the information on the website so that if there are any complaints, they know who to contact.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then the other question or comment was about traffic, and specifically, I know this is a county road and it's only a 5-lot subdivision. Can you maybe just comment, either of you, about the need or not need for a traffic study, and then just general traffic safety on Plymouth Road?
Chair, Commissioners, I'll also defer to Lauren after I give my initial answer. But since the county nor our engineers have raised any flags about the traffic, I think that's our first indication that a traffic study would not be needed, nor is it typical that we would require a traffic study for a subdivision.
Yeah, the county always has review authority when there's development that is connected to their road system. So as was indicated in the memo in the packet from the county, there's not They like the alignment of the road connected to Plymouth with Amy Lane to create that intersection. There was discussion during the Emerald Estates project about a turn lane, but that project has now been denied officially by the city. So, any look at a turn lane for that project is not happening. The county did not ask for any turn lane left or right on at this new intersection here. So, we take their lead because it's their facility. We don't, as Ms. Rains identified, single-family detached subdivisions of this size are not going to trigger a traffic study in any shape or form. When we get to commercial and multifamily development, we do traffic studies, but this would not rise to that level where we'd need a study. Plymouth Road also does have a new trail system along the east side of the road for kind of better and enhanced pedestrian mobility and safety. The shoulders are wider as well if you're walking or riding along Plymouth Road. So it's much enhanced over the past few years, and whenever we can align an intersection and connect residential neighborhoods, that makes for a safe situation. So again, I think we've kind of looked at this in a number of ways on both sides of the road, and this seems to be a design that works, and we don't need any other additional turn lanes improvements to make it work any better than it already does. So,
and is it generally safer to have essentially an intersection as opposed to having offset, where then you can have somebody go and I can see that being almost less safe, because I know that's probably why the
that's
county
true. Whenever you have the
tries to-
opportunity to align an intersection, you get better
It's
visibility,
safer.
safety. Yeah,
better sightlines.
Sight
Okay,
lines.
great, thank you. Commissioners, any final questions, or are we ready for comments? Yeah, Commissioner Henry.
Thanks, Chair. This may be a strategic question, but when there's projects like this, in the last meeting, we talked about the proposed development to the south of it. What's the city and the county, what's their communication like in terms of holistic planning of proposed developments like this? Is it always just one at a time, whatever comes up in front, or is there some perspacity and they say, well, there's going to be these developments going on, so we should think about strategically about how to accommodate both of these or three developments, or is it just one at a time?
Chair and commissioners, there's a couple levels this works at. First would be with system-wide planning that happens during first a comprehensive plan, so identifying densities along corridors. County has comment authority on our comprehensive plan, our transportation component within that plan, and the different levels of road planning, transit planning that happen on the corridor. So there's always visibility of that. They generally have a sense for what's left for development and areas that they need to focus on when they're looking for improvements. So, for example, Plymouth Road, again, just most recently improved for the trail system, and then the other improvements for the drainage and flow, essentially with the striping, has been looked at. And again, there's if they were seeking to have additional intersections or additional turn lanes, those would have been contemplated with the Plymouth Road improvement project. And again, we're at essentially a very low density along this corridor. We don't have multi-family development here in south. We do to the north, but again, those intersections have traffic lights and turn lanes and things like that. So you'd expect that in those locations. So, and at a smaller level, the coordination happens when we do have development, and that's when you really have to put all those policies and plans from the comprehensive plan, transportation plan, into effect, and look at kind of the micro level of intersections and sight lines and things like that. This is a good location for the intersection. So again, they didn't have any comment authority, but we don't get to look forward and say this property needs to develop in this certain way, that's a development interest of the property owner that we have review authority over, but we don't really get ahead of that and dictate how a development should be, split up and subdivided. So, hope that answers your question.
Completely, thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? Otherwise, comments? Yeah, Commissioner Minion.
I didn't see anything in there that these lots are already sold. I assume that they've not been sold. And where I'm going with this is want to be sensitive to the concerns about the volume of construction traffic. So as we look at how the property gets developed, are we looking at having all 5 houses built at the same time, or would they be sold and built one at a time? Thinking about the volume of workers, the volume of vehicles, how do you see that happening?
Commissioner Minion, they have not yet been sold. We haven't started marketing efforts because we wanted to get approvals first, don't want to get the cart before the horse, but I think shortly after council, assuming we get a recommendation and a vote positive from the council, we would begin marketing efforts. We're a smaller company. We build about 15 custom homes a year everywhere, and so these are going to get built one at a time, maybe 2 at a time. Realistically, we don't have the capacity to build 4 or 5 at a time. And so I would expect this project to sell out over the course of a year and then the houses to be staggered accordingly. So it's impossible for us to build that many at a time. We don't have the capacity. So it'll be kind of onesie, twosies at a time.
So just to get deeper in the weeds, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you've got a crazy day, you've got 2 of them going up at the same time. You might have a basement crew there, maybe a framing crew. How many vehicles do you think would actually be there that you couldn't put on the property itself that would have to be overflow on the street? And I'm not looking for a commitment, I'm just saying, what do you see would be a reasonably high number? Say you got a framing crew of 2 or 3 guys and somebody's setting up forms for a basement, maybe.
There might, in a given day, there might be a few large trucks, a dozen vehicles, but this cul-de-sac is a couple hundred feet long, and so we have more than enough room on this cul-de-sac for all the vehicles we would have. It's just a matter of getting the cul-de-sac cut in and built. So once we're at the home construction phase, there'll be no pressure on Plymouth Road at all. Everybody's going to be on the new street. So the challenge for us is going to be managing construction traffic to the one concern we have while we're doing the site development. I mean, we're just getting started. I mean, there's going to be some awkwardness at first there. As we're getting in and we're starting to develop the site, we're going to have to put a plan together for that. But once we're in home construction, there's no pressure on Plymouth Road at that point, because we have plenty of room on the site.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other final questions, commissioners? Would someone like to offer comments? Commissioner Hanson, thanks for going first.
Yeah, I'll start. Well, I from a plating perspective, I just feel like this is a little bit of a refreshing scaling effort. It's nice to see what feels like an organic or a natural Minnetonka size lot come in, not with 13 or 15 homes kind of squeezed in. So this feels like this will blend in from a lot perspective, is what it feels like to me. I'm sure we'll see some really nice homes here, is my hunch at the end of the day. And then what I would say to the neighborhood group, like, really appreciate the organization to have a neighborhood representative come forward. That's nice to see, and kind of just got to be your own advocate. And I feel like you've got a willing partner sitting here with you too, and the city staff is always really open to hearing feedback. And between the three partners here, like, make sure you have a good partner. So I look forward to supporting this, and I don't envision any major hiccups through the construction process. So,
Great, thank you. Other comments? Yeah, Commissioner Henry.
I agree. There is a caveat that the previous application, they stuffed, 9 or 10 houses on here too, so they had to have a revised version. But this is, I look at this, and this is really in harmony with the neighborhoods around it. And it seems like this is Minnetonka. This is the way it should be developed. So not stuffing the maximum number of houses as possible, then whittling it down through negotiation and angst and things. This is, I'm fully in support of it. I think it's a thoughtful proposal, and I'm really glad I came in here with a couple of concerns, primarily around drainage and the road safety. So I'm glad Commissioner Maxwell brought up that with the turn lanes, and I thought that's important to address. From what I heard from the city staff, how they work with the county, and they feel quite confident that the road improvements that have already been done are going to be enough for the safety with the trail on the east side. That's great too. So it's really well thought out, and I'm fully in favor of it as well.
Great, thank you. Other comments? Yeah, Commissioner Waterman.
Thanks. Yeah, I generally concur with what the other commissioners have said. Just to add to that, I think the subdivision is, in that it's consistent with all the zoning and doesn't need any variances. I'd be hard pressed to really push back on it or outright reject it. Agree that the previous proposals just too dense, and I think that was the feedback. And I'm glad to see with the new developer, they're really taking that to heart and producing something that looks like it really belongs here and really fits in with the topography, especially really, as the city said, kind of being in compliance with the steep slope ordinance. It shows that it can be done, and you're really only flattening what must be flattened to develop the area. Appreciate neighborhood feedback. I was interested that there weren't any neighbors around, and that's I guess is any neighborhood representatives from the immediate area to the west and north. I think there was a lot of feedback I remember from the previous meeting, and obviously this is going to be somewhat of a change and just getting rid of some of the trees, but I'm really pleased that there's just so much buffering and vegetation that's going to be left with this development that my hope is it only improves the neighbor sight lines and whatnot to the west and north and south. And for this project, in isolation, I'm not surprised that a traffic study wasn't really necessary for 5 homes. The construction, I think, will be annoying. I think I've seen other projects where it's probably going to be worse. I drive up and down Plymouth Road. I know about those sight lines as well. That's going to be annoying for all of us. But to the developer's point, I think once that cul-de-sac is in and cut, I think that should generally abate. But overall, I'm glad to see this proposal coming forward with no variances required and meeting all ordinances, and I think it's going to be a good project.
Thank you. Other comments? Yeah, Commissioner Minion.
I'd like to encourage the neighborhood. Thank you for your comments. I think it's great. I think we've got an applicant that will work with you. I do like the fact that there are already 2 curb cuts on this property that for the construction process could be a good spot for parking those construction vehicles, and obviously that'll change in time with how you develop it. But I think we've got great city management that'll work well with you as far as developing a plan for those traffic or for the parking concerns. And I agree with the 5 homes. I don't see a large increase in traffic, but I do like the fact that Mr. Gordon had talked earlier about how Amy Lane lines up with the new Street A and keeps those lines a little safer intersection there. So I look forward to supporting this.
Great, thank you. Other comments? Yeah, Commissioner Maxwell.
Yeah, all the good points have been taken already. I agree with you, Commissioner Hanson, that this is a refreshing proposal compared to some we've seen lately, where the density and the layout of these homes really works well, as you said, Commissioner Waterman, with the topography of the site, as well as fitting in well with the surrounding neighborhoods in terms of density and home size setback from the street. And the utility connections, road connections here, placement of the pads are very thoughtful. And I hear, Ms. Polanski, I hear your concerns about traffic on Plymouth Road. I live just to the neighborhood south of here, and I turn left onto Plymouth, right onto Plymouth here multiple times a day, so I understand there's a lot of traffic there. I think for this site, 5 homes is going to be minimal impact, but I wish we could consider these 2 sites together, understanding that the site in Emerald Estates was denied. We would be naive to think that there's not going to be any homes there. There will be an impact there, and if we consider these together, there'd be a minimum of 10, maybe 15 homes, whether they access Amy Lane or somewhere else. That's something where that's still unclear to me, the impact of those 2 sites as a whole. But taking this proposal on its own, I am in favor of this.
Great, thank you. Any other final comments? Yeah, Commissioner Waterman, you have something to add?
One more that, yeah, Commissioner Maxwell reminded me of, just with regard to the development, the Emerald Trail development. I think it's helpful. I agree. I wish that we could consider the two together. I think it's helpful now, if this passes, to have some certainty. And then I think that will better inform what will work in Emerald Trail. And I think the neighbors might find something potentially more beneficial now having this developed. You know, maybe it reduces the density that can even go to the east on Plymouth.
Great, thanks. Any other final comments? Nope. All right. I will. I'll offer my comments. When I saw this proposal come back, I guess it was a different iteration before. I was shocked at only five lots. I was waiting for another 10, 12, 15, choose your own adventure here. But I was shocked at only 5. So this is probably the least dense development we've seen in years. I'd have to dig deep to find one that's less dense than this. So if you're a neighbor and don't like density, this is as good as you're gonna find. So, but they meet all the requirements. So I think we're probably all on the same page then. So, any other final comments? Otherwise, I think we're probably ready for a motion. And I'd look for a motion to recommend the City Council adopt a resolution approving the plat for preliminary plat of Woodhaven, a 5-lot subdivision at 2424 and 2440 Plymouth Road. Would someone like to make that motion?
I will make that motion.
Motion Hanson.
I'll second.
Second Henry. Staff, please poll the commission.
Henry,
Yes.
Maxwell,
Yes.
Minion,
Yes.
Waterman,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Chair Sewell.
Yes, motion carries. And this is a recommendation to the City Council that will be heard on March 4th. Good luck with your project. All right, moving on to item number 9, which is adjournment. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion, Chair.
Motion Maxwell.
I'll second.
Second Minion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Good night.